1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. So likely you know someone, maybe it's yourself, maybe it's a family member, or maybe just someone that you work with. But if you do have breast cancer, likely you will go through chemo, surgery. It's an entire fight. I'm excited today to sit down with my friend here, Krissy Dykhouse, here in Brandon, the owner of Rise Skin Studio. And what she does is she helps in that final step. When you really want to feel whole again, feel like yourself, she helps with the process of nipple and areola tattooing. So again, she is here in Brandon with Rise Skin Studio. She's also a registered nurse. So we're going to talk a little bit about her journey from nursing into tattooing for breast cancer survivors. All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about what this looks like, how it feels, and how you can get in touch with Krissy. Let's dive in. Health and wellness is confusing. There's a new trend every week. Everyone's got an opinion, and half the time you can't tell what's legit from what's just good marketing. And we get it. We're in it too. Welcome to Dialed In Health. I'm Melissa Goodwin. Every episode, we bring in the people who actually do this work. Providers, practitioners, the experts who see clients and patients every day. We ask the questions you'd ask if you were sitting across from them so you can find the right people, make better decisions, and feel confident about what's out there. Whether it's peptides, gut health, water quality, ADHD, biohacking, or something you've never heard of, we're covering it. So let's get into it. Let's get dialed in. I'm super excited to chat with you here today to learn more about this.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So you also have another certification. Tell me what the certification is that you have to do this work.
So I went to Texas to train with a paramedical tattoo instructor.
Okay.
That we did a course and then we did a live model day so that I was able to tattoo with her to get the full experience and what that looks like for the patient from the start to the end and meeting in the plastic surgeon's office and performing that procedure.
So tell me, you're a registered nurse. You started out in nursing.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your journey. You've got a beautiful studio here in Brandon, South Dakota.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your journey from nursing to doing this areola tattoo work.
The long story I will spare you from, but the short version is just that I think honestly, it's been my whole lifetime in the making, but COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people in the medical field. And it got me thinking about a lot of things, honestly, just life with a lot of loss and death and things. And I was approaching age 40 and just thinking maybe I need to be doing something different. I just had a stirring of sorts and I didn't really know what it was. And then I thought, I ran into someone who teaches cosmetic tattooing and I thought I could do that maybe just for fun on the side. I love makeup and cosmetology and art. And so I trained to do that on the side. And then that opened up this whole wide world and algorithm of paramedical tattooing. And so every video on social media, everything was this type of scar restoration and areola tattooing. So I thought this is what I want to do. So then I flew to Texas to get trained and started just trying to connect with plastic surgeons, nurses that I previously worked with that could connect me with the right people, and started getting patients referred to me. And that's the short version of I felt like I finally kind of clicked into a place of utilizing my nursing career, but also the artistic side of me. I could still see patients, and it was just like all these worlds collided into one beautiful career option, I guess.
That's amazing. Well, tell us a little, because I'm curious too. When you say cosmetic tattooing, that's like your makeup, eyebrows and makeup and things. And what you do is another step beyond that. Is that right?
Yep. So what I did previously would be considered cosmetic.
Okay.
And then now I have gone into, some people like to call it cosmetic, but it's not at all. And we'll get into that. But it's more of a medical procedure.
Yeah.
And a medical necessity.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So it's also a little bit personal for you too. So tell us, you have the medical side, that background. Tell us about the personal story that drew you into this work.
Yes. When I was 14, backing up even more, when I was about 10, my dad had colon cancer. They removed 3/4 of his colon, thought they got it all. He did chemo, then it metastasized to his liver, and he died 4 years later when he was 44, and I was 14. And I had always wanted to kind of, be a part of a community or group. It's like, okay, you can tell people to get their colonoscopies and, I mean, take care of themselves. But beyond that, there wasn't really a group of people that got excited to support each other. And to be honest, a lot of people die from liver cancer. They don't survive it. And so this was a community that I am blessed to be a part of, that I fell into as a provider, but really it has healed me in ways that I get to be a part of a cancer community where they're all cheering each other on and they're excited for each other. And to get to be a part of that without having a personal breast cancer experience, but having experienced loss from cancer has been and especially a big gift for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us, when someone kind of comes through your doors, what are the things that they're most scared about or concerned about? Like, what questions do they have when they come? Like, I don't know if I need this.
Yeah. I would tell them that it's just the most personal decision that they could ever make, and it's not for anyone else to decide on. And that's the beautiful part of it is, a lot of people will say, yes, do I really need this? Is it a big deal? Yes, you deserve to feel whole again. Like you weren't robbed of something, that cancer didn't steal your nipples and a part of you that made you feel beautiful and feminine. And
sure,
it has to be for you and for nobody else, which is a very intimate decision. A lot of times they have questions on what could happen infection wise. A lot of them are pretty traumatized just based on what has happened previously. I feel like, and I don't know statistically percentages, but just with the patients I've worked with, it almost seems like they always end up needing some sort of repair, or they get lymphedema or some sort of complication, whether small or big, and it's nobody's fault except it just happens. Like it's just a very difficult area to work with, and depending where the cancer is, and sometimes they try to save the nipple and that can't be saved because it will, necrotize, and they're a little bit hesitant to have one more thing done.
Sure.
And so they just have questions about that and what that looks like.
So what is that process from start to finish for someone who's come through and says, okay, I think I'm going to give it a try. What does that process look like? How long does it take? How many visits? All those kinds of things.
Yes. Great questions. And a lot of questions, same questions that people have when they come in.
Yeah.
I always tell them they have to wait at least 6 months post last surgery. Okay. They have to get an okay from their plastic surgeon. That's the main thing. I don't care how long it's been. If you call me and it's been 6 months, I'm still going to have you call your plastic surgeon and say, they need to okay it. They know exactly what happened from start to finish with those surgeries and what complications did arise and if this patient is ready for this. That's step number one. Then you come to my studio where we set up a phone call for a consult. You'll come to my studio in person or Zoom. If I have done out of state patients, we can do a Zoom consult if they don't want to come multiple times.
Sure.
They come then for their first appointment. That takes about 2 hours. I always set aside a lot of time for paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork involved. And then we spend quite a bit of time mapping them out, picking colors together, and just kind of talking through the process. The tattooing itself doesn't take too terribly long, probably about 20 minutes to half an hour. Pending the condition of the skin and scarring, sometimes it's a little more difficult to get that pigment to stick into the tissue just because it's not, perfectly healthy skin. It's been through a lot. And so I always tell them the first appointment, they're going to look pretty great. You're going to leave. They might fade a lot. They might look pretty good after the first appointment. I always include a second appointment in the initial fee. That is done 6 to 8 weeks after that. And then I always tell them after that, if there's a third appointment needed, please get a hold of me. I'm not going to charge you for it. I just want to make sure you're happy with your results. And because that skin is traumatized, it can take extra time. When we're tattooing it, we can't over harass the skin because then it basically just rejects the pigment. So I always like to kind of micro appointments is what I call them, is we get it as much ink and pigment into the skin as we can and then let you heal. So we have a better hope of retention. You come back, we add a little bit more in. I'd say 80% are probably pretty satisfied after 2 appointments. And then the 20%'s like, I think I just want them a little bit darker, or some of the details faded a little bit more than I wanted. And so then they just come back in for another appointment and we go over those spots and they're good to go.
Well, this is going to be a weird question, but I imagine, I mean, there's all different kinds of nipples. Do you choose, like, you have a booklet and you just choose what you want?
I can show them pictures if you want to show pictures if you want. I've had several bring in pictures of their own.
Okay.
Either the physicians have taken a picture prior to surgery.
Yeah.
Or it's a picture that they just had at home, which is good for them. And they're like, I really liked my nipples before I had the surgery. So, you know, this was the color they were, this is the size. And so I can absolutely mimic anything that they want. If they have no idea, then I tell them, this is your gift to yourself. You get to choose whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you want bigger nipples, small nipples, light, dark, whatever color, I have tons of pigment swatches and pictures in my portfolio, and we just kind of talk about it. Another little fun detail is just that the little dots on the nipple that make it look really realistic, some people don't want those.
Okay.
I'd say a majority do because it makes it look very realistic.
Sure.
But details like that, if you don't want them. I've also had people put little names into their nipples for someone that they love, a significant other. So I can just kind of hide that in the wrinkles and the details. And so it can be kind of anything you want it to be.
That's really fun, actually. I love that. So what do you call that final step of the reconstruction? Is that like, is there a name for that? Like when you're,
I would just say the grand finale. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's no medical term, nothing, just the nipple tattooing. And yeah.
Now you mentioned like you're making it look realistic. Is it like a 3D sort of rendering in many ways?
Yeah, very much so. Yep.
Okay.
In fact, if I show people, I love to show people pictures if they're interested. People are like, oh, okay, like almost like they shouldn't be looking, like, okay. Or my kids, I'll be like looking for a different picture in my phone and they're like, Mom, it's like, okay, just look away. It's fine. Like it looks very realistic, which is awesome and exactly what the patient deserves. So
when you have 3 boys, right?
Yeah.
You said, so how do your boys, what do they say your mom does at work?
It's very entertaining. One day one came home and said, Mom, if you got asked to do like the career day or something, can you not tell people what you do? It's like, I'm not going to go in there and show the entire high school pictures of nipples. Okay. I am a nurse. I have 15 years of hospital nursing experience. I can kind of, adapt to whatever I want when I'm sharing with certain groups, obviously with, surgeons and all of that. I go all in on, this part of my nursing career, but, they are pretty appalled most of the time, but that just kind of confirms to me that I do really good work and it actually looks like a nipple. So
yeah, I can imagine if you were a teenage boy and you're explaining to your girlfriend what your mom does. They'd be like, well, she
just nipples. I'll have like doodles around the house all over too, where I'm just like messing with shading and stuff. And there's just nipples everywhere. Or I'll leave my work stuff out and it's like, oh my gosh, just put it away.
That's amazing. That's really funny. So I would imagine with any tattoo, people are always worried about the pain. So for many of your clients, maybe a lot of people have tattoos now, but not everybody. So do you get a lot of like nervousness around pain and if it will hurt?
Yes, I would say. And I do a lot of first time tattoos because a lot of them are women ages, 60 something to 80 something.
Sure.
And they've never had a tattoo before.
Yeah.
Or they're still kind of in the thought process of it being, kind of a taboo thing. And bikers and people in jail are the only ones with tattoos, which is hilarious because it's not true, but that's, the mindset that they've been in. And so it's like my first tattoo. So it's nerve-wracking for them. I always reassure them that most of the time, all those nerves have been cut through. There's not a lot of feeling there. And they know that, they know they don't have the same amount of feeling. So I just reassure them that you likely won't feel a lot. And if you do, for some reason, I'll do a little test spot. If you do feel too much, then I can use a numbing agent on the surface of the skin.
Okay.
And that eliminates 95% of pain if they do happen to have feeling or pain.
Quick break. This episode is brought to you by Vitality Growth Labs. If you're a health or wellness practice and you're wondering why your phone isn't ringing the way it should be, Vitality Growth Labs builds the systems to fix that. Get found, build trust, fill your calendar. AI authority stacking, videos that connect with your clients, real tools, strategy, and execution that results in real revenue. Visit vitalitygrowthlabs.com or check the provider directory at vitalitygrowthlabs.com/the directory to find a trusted wellness provider near you. All right, back to the show.
So if you have had surgery and you've completed your chemo, and what's the difference between going to someone like you versus just going to a tattoo shop and asking them to do a tattoo?
You could go to a tattoo shop. And I have a lot of friends in the tattoo industry. There's nothing against them. I would say we all just have specialties, right? So if you were to go into a tattoo shop, you would look at their portfolio ahead of time and know what kind of style they do, and you're interested and you're kind of drawn to a certain person.
Sure.
So I would just say I offer that as my specialty. And so I've dedicated my trade to that and most of my time to that, to perfecting that. And so you're getting that piece of it. The other piece is just the feeling of the space that I wanted to create. I didn't want it to feel like a hospital, and I didn't want it to feel like a tattoo shop, just because, like I said, a lot of these older women especially have never stepped foot in a tattoo shop. And so I want them to feel comfortable.
Right.
And so I'd say those two things are probably primarily, you could go into a tattoo shop and probably get an amazing nipple done. They're amazing artists. I don't know if they'd want to do it necessarily over that skin that's been through a lot.
Sure.
But that would be my two, I think, without putting them down in any sort of way, because there's so much talent in that industry. And even in a tattoo shop, it's clean and safe and all of that. It's just a different
And you're
vibe.
out in the open, maybe on a table, and everybody can see everything that's walking by.
One of my 80-year-old patients said she did it in the basement of a tattoo shop. It was like in this little private room, but you walk through the tattoo shop and that's the only space they could offer that was private.
Okay.
It's like in this kind of dungeony basement, and it's like they've been through too much to not have an experience in the space as well. So for me, that's especially important as well, besides specializing in it.
Yeah, and on the insurance side, you mentioned it is often covered by insurance. So that would be another thing that you would offer that probably a typical tattoo shop couldn't. Can you speak to, if someone's concerned about cost or not sure if insurance would cover it, what does that process look like?
That is a loaded process. I always tell them from the beginning to call their insurance company, act like they know exactly what they're talking about, and I kind of talk them through a little bit of a script. The Women's Health and Cancer Rights Act of 1998 is a federal law that requires any insurance providers who pay for a mastectomy, they have to also pay for reconstruction, anything to create symmetry. If they have one side done and not the other, then insurance is required to pay for making that side look like the other side, just to create symmetry and balance after surgery. It's been 4 years and quite a battle, and I didn't know it would be another one of my life's missions to get insurance to cover it, but they have to be willing to fight for it. I have a lot of patients that just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. It's $500. I'll pay for it. Well, that lets them off the hook. And then they don't have to comply by the federal law that is in place. And so backing up to that first phone call, I have them call and just say, hey, I want to get this done. I was referred by my plastic surgeon. What do you need for me to get paid for this or reimbursed for this? They'll always say things like it's not covered and all of this. So then it starts the process of probably 20 hours on the phone for each patient to just talk to different people to try to get them to give me the required, information that they need and the required documents. They'll always try to find loopholes to try to say we aren't going to cover it or a surgeon has to do it, which leads to another point of I've corrected many surgeons' works. They're great surgeons, but not great tattoo artists. And so in my lifetime, I will get this process smoothed over where that a patient doesn't even have to battle through. It's just, if you have a mastectomy, then you get to pick someone who's specialized in this service and you get to go to them and it's supposed to be covered based under the federal law. I have never taken it to the legal level, but I'm almost there where it's like I have this whole portfolio, documented patient phone calls and claim denials and all of this stuff, because I am ready to take it to the next step of, if you don't comply with this law, then we're coming for you, and I'm sad for the patients who are just tired. They don't want to fight. And so then
they've gone through so much already.
Yeah. Right? And they just want to pay for it. So then, I hate that. I don't want to take their money. I want to take money from the insurance companies that they've paid thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into their premiums. And so that's just kind of part of the mission. So that would be a whole nother episode of talking through all of that.
Krissy navigating the gauntlet of insurance.
Yes.
Coverage.
The whole fragile like a flower or fragile like a bomb, not like a flower is me when it comes to insurance. It's like, mess with me and you will see. I will not give in because there's too many people that depend on and deserve this for it to just be like, no, just for them to give up. So, but I don't want them to have to fight either. So,
yeah, well, good for you. That's amazing. And I'm sure that many people really do appreciate that. So for the women that choose maybe to not have implants or they choose to go flat, are there options for them too?
Yes. Right now, I am in a non-traditional apprenticeship for traditional tattooing.
Okay.
Because I do want to be able to offer my patients and non-medical patients artistic tattooing as well, because I love that. And I have tattoos. I love tattoos. Primarily that whole idea came about because I want to be able to offer patients non-traditional nipple tattooing. If they want floral or some other design over that skin, if you look it up online, it's beautiful. I mean, it's I don't want to call it a distraction because it's not. It just, it enhances that area without having anything there like before.
Allows you to maybe still feel feminine without having the pain of the implant and all of that process.
And that whole thing. Exactly. We could do nipples on a flat surface. It's some females have very flat chests. It would be similar to that. We could attempt that. But I feel like most of the time I talk with people who don't do implants, they do some sort of design to kind of cover the scarring more than a nipple.
So with your non-traditional apprenticeship, what are you learning to do? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's just different styles of tattooing and different needles and pigments and depth, because I've tattooed for 4 years, so I know how to tattoo, but it's just, and I've used some of the same needle configurations I'm learning, but it's just different, and I think I'm definitely going to fall into more the kind of abstract artistic kind of tattooing, because I use a stencil for the nipples, but I kind of create, I kind of just go with it and create it as I go. And so I don't love the perfect, it's more the artsy and colorful and all of that I think I'll be drawn to just because of what I'm familiar with. But I want to learn. I don't have to do an apprenticeship to learn other tattooing, but I want to do it right. And so I'm just all the things from a stencil to different pigments that I've never used and what's best and how to do it all.
Very cool. That's exciting. So when will you be done with your apprenticeship?
So I'm technically done.
Oh, okay.
I still just love to learn, and I can't get enough information. So I still just keep going back to the studio, and my beautiful apprentice Jenny is like, you're good, but it's okay. So I love them there. And so I have done several just kind of smaller tattoos, and I'll continue to just fit those clients in where I can.
Sure.
Around my patients will always be my first priority. And so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Very cool. Well, tell me a little bit about scars. So maybe other scars beyond breast cancer, like a tummy tuck, or maybe it's a C-section or something like that. Is that other places that you can tattoo over?
Yes. Me personally, I did train, but then again, I wanted to specialize. I felt more drawn into the nipple tattooing. I have amazing resources locally for people to get scar repair and color correction and things like that. And so I do refer them out if they want something like that done, just because that's a whole nother ball game to specialize in, and so many different, it seems like, oh, no big deal, you just pick the color of the skin and you tattoo it on, but it's a very complicated and precise thing as well. So I just kind of knew that wasn't something I wanted to really dig into, so I refer them on.
Sure.
And happy to give a referral for that.
But there's options for people if that's what they're interested in. Yep. So what would you want, if a woman is going into surgery, maybe she's going into maybe her last few sessions here, what would you want her to know?
Just that there will be an ending. It's very exciting. I always share that I feel spoiled to be a part of the grand finale, and just the emotions that come with it, and all of the things come flooding back of this whole journey.
Yeah.
And to witness them feel like, not that it never happened, because it very much did, and it's a part of their story, but just that, oh my gosh, I feel like myself.
You can close that chapter.
Yeah, just, and I say that to my patients a lot. It's like, I'm so excited to like close this chapter and then on to the next one. Like, it's so exciting, and it's possible. And it just, Rise Skin Studio it came from all these quotes that kept coming to me on repeat of like, still I rise, and the sun will, the sun always rises. And it's just like rising after, if you fall down, make sure that you rise as the whole damn fire is one of my favorites. And it's like, just, it's I get to be a part of the ending and lead them into the next exciting chapter.
I love that part of the transformation. So on that note, what do you see when people come in, and then, when they're leaving after everything's complete, what is the inner transformation that you see?
I think it takes a little bit for them to really process it. So they'll look at their nipples and they're always excited. It's like, oh my gosh, they look, wow, or if a significant other's here, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, cool. Like, I had no idea this, really could happen. Yeah. But I just feel like it's down the road when I talk to them and they've, had it completed for a while, or when they come back for their follow-up, it's just like, wow, I didn't know the difference that it really would make, when I'm looking in the mirror. And it's not even like they're looking at their nipple. It's just like seeing myself as a whole person in the mirror. Had no idea that would be such an incredible experience. I'll never forget. I walked, one of my patients left, and I saw her give her husband a big hug out in the parking lot. And I don't know for sure that was, he had come to he was sitting here in the first appointment, and he was wonderful. And just adored her, you could tell. And they had just been through a lot. And so when I walked out there and saw that, just accidentally kind of witnessed this, he was waiting in the car at her follow-up, and she went out there and they hugged. It was like, it's just healing for everyone involved and who's really close to the patient. And so I don't even think, I guess my main point is, I don't think I even really get to be a part of the fullness and the full moment of the realization and like how they feel. I get the initial emotion is super exciting, but it makes my heart want to burst to know what happens after they leave here and fully experience it in life and at home.
What a cool It's so amazing you get to be part of that process.
It's been
very cool. Well, I have a few myth busters that I'm going to ask you to either tell me if it's true or false. Getting tattooed must be, especially in a sensitive area like that, must be really painful.
Absolutely not, usually, because they don't have a lot of feeling in that area. And if they do, then we can use a numbing agent, and problem solved.
Problem solved. I like it. Any tattoo artist can do work like this.
Maybe. Again, to reiterate, we all have specialties and portfolios, and you're drawn to something, and you look in the portfolio, you want to know someone has really spent a lot of time on this and can do a really good job. So I would like to say that my portfolio is pretty impressive, and that is why I think I'm on a different level than people who are not doing this all the time.
How many do you think you've done?
Oh, I should figure that out. Gotta be close to 100 over 4 years.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
That's pretty good.
I remember when I started to kind of lose track, like I knew every detail of every patient and they weren't as frequent, and that was cool. And then when I kind of started to lose that because there was more of them, it made me sad. But at the same time, I want to help as many people as possible. So it's just like connect with them as best I can when they're here. And I can't and won't likely remember every detail. Same as in the hospital. Like I'd love to remember every single patient I took care of.
Sure.
And I just can't. But my moments with them are really special. So.
Yeah. I love that. So what about Regular tattoos fade.
Yes.
So do these fade as well?
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
Same amount of time typically?
I think it varies based on the person. I mean, a lot of things are just, the skin, how oily their skin is. Do they wear super tight clothing or not? There's different variables and factors, but I always tell them when they leave, I'm here forever as a resource. So give me a call. If they fade really fast, then we'll just go back over them again. If we need to try to get reimbursement again and do it, in a couple years, then we can do that. But just don't feel like you have to go home with this one round and be done.
Right.
I'm here to help you with that long-term goal of having them look really nice forever. But yes, it will take retouches and work over time just to keep them looking nice.
Are there any other conditions outside of breast cancer where somebody might need a tattoo like this?
I would say if, someone had some sort of breast surgery and had,
Okay.
Let's say lost their nipple or had some nipple necrosis or where that tissue dies around it or just different kind of traumatic scarring and things. I feel like this could be, I have not done it, but I know I could do a good job based on the other work that I do a great job just making it look more like a natural breast than something that's kind of, traumatized, chopped in ways. I hate to use that word, but really like sometimes they just do the best they can. And then if they have a complication, they do what they have to save as much tissue as possible. And I could go over some of that. Or let's say their nipple is a lot smaller or something and there's big scar around it, then I could make it look, similar to the other one or kind of work with that to make it look.
Sure. And then when you get it done, if you choose to go flat, then tattooing is not an option.
Very much false.
Okay.
And like we talked about, I love to do florals and just fun artistic-y cover-ups on a flat chest, or we could do nipples too. If we could try a nipple and see if they like that. And if not, they're like, nope, this doesn't work for me. Then we can add to that or cover that with floral and other things that they might want on that area.
I love it.
Yeah.
What is something that you would want, even those maybe who don't have breast cancer, that they should know about this work and the work that you do?
I think that until you are personally, hit with this or someone close to you is, you never really fully understand the impact that this makes. Mm-hmm. But I would just challenge people to really think about it, even if they aren't affected, because someone they know at some point is going to be affected, whether it's, a coworker or a close relative. Like there's a wide range and statistically, sadly, someone they know will be affected by it. Just to have a part of you taken away, and then to say, oh, that's just cosmetic, or that you don't really need that. It's just an option, not that big of a deal. I mean, what if it happened to you or someone that you loved or your wife or your daughter? It's like that. I just want them to shift that mindset of like, it is a big deal. And anyone that goes through breast cancer deserves to feel like themselves again and feel whole. And I do think it's a bigger deal than people realize. And the women I've done who didn't think it was really going to be that big a deal and it did end up, it's like, just ask them. They didn't think it either personally that it would make that big of a difference, and it completely changed their mindset and how they feel about themselves.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you do and for being such a fierce advocate for women on this journey and to get the insurance to pay for it, all the things that you're doing. So you've got a beautiful space.
Thank you so much.
How do people find you if they're curious, they want to learn more, they maybe it's a physician out there who's watching that wants to refer some patients. Where do they find you at?
I would start at my website, which is www.riseskinstudio.com.
Okay.
Tons of resources there. There's some pictures on my website there. And then there's also a way to email me and get my work number that you could also call or text. Would probably be the best.
Perfect. Thanks again, Krissy,
for
being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll put links to all of those in the show notes. Or if you're watching on YouTube, click on the description and we'll have links to her website and all her contact information there.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey, that's our show. If someone came to mind while you were listening to this, if you thought, hey, my sister needs to hear this, or I should send this to my mom, or my buddy would get a lot out of this, please share it with them. just hit the share button and send it their way. You never know what one conversation, one episode, or one piece of information can do for someone who's been looking for answers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. It takes 2 seconds, it's free, and it means you won't miss an episode. We've got incredible stuff coming up, and I don't want you to miss any of it. And if you're a health or wellness provider and you want to be on the show, we'd love to hear from you. There's a link in the show notes to get in touch. We're always looking for people doing interesting work who want to share what they know. And one last thing, I get asked all the time about the products and brands I actually use, so I put together a list of sponsors and favorite products that have worked for me and my family. If you're curious, that link is in the show notes too. Thank you for being here, and I really mean that. I'm Melissa Goodwin. The line is open. See you next time.